Hello, Augies worldwide. It's good to see you this morning. My name is Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, and here with episode 199 of Ask Dave / Ham Radio Answers. And I have come into possession of an ICOM 7300, and I'm going to spend the next 2 or 3 videos reviewing that particular radio. The radio was loaned to me by a fellow club member in the Montrose Amateur Radio Club, and I have it here. And I thought before going into that in detail, it might be worthwhile to spend a little time looking at the broader HF marketplace. Now, there are 5 contenders on this chart here. There's ICOM, Kenwood, Yaesu, and I have included 2 others. This is Alenco down here, and this up here, this is Elecraft. Well, first of all, let's explain the scale. This is a logarithmic scale, okay? It's actually plotted on log linear paper. $100 down here, and every time you go up by 10, you go up by a factor of 10 here too. So 100 to 1,000, this is 10,000, and its chart tops out at 20,000. Now the reason I did that is because the price disparity between these various radios is so large. Look at an ICOM, the 7851, $12,500, okay? And down here for 624, the IC718, their starter radio, there's a factor of 20 in the price. 20! What I want to talk about is the 3 big manufacturers, plus Elecraft and Alenco, and where their radios fit into the market. Okay, the market currently for HF / 6 meter radios is owned by the Japanese manufacturers. I know that the Chinese manufacturers have done a lot with handhelds and things like that, but they haven't really dived into the HF arena. It's a different ball game, really. These radios are more complicated and do more things and so on. So what I thought I'd do is go down each of these lines and just talk about it. Now note here, the radio that I'm going to be reviewing is the ICOM IC7300. This is a radio that is taking amateur radio by storm because it is a totally software-defined radio, and ICOM has taken maximum advantage of that in putting this radio together. This sets a new price point for radios because it's just a little bit over $1,000. Now these are all street prices as of the 23rd of April that I got from DX Engineering Ham Radio Outlet and Universal Radio. Note that not every vendor carries every radio, so you may have to look for it if you decide on it. Let's look at the ICOM lineup first. Okay. We've got our IC7851 for $12,500. This is just an HF plus 6 meter rig. There's no VHF or UHF. You might call this their prestige radio. It's a very fine radio, but then again, so are these down to here too. Very fine radios. I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't get this thing gold plated. I mean, it's I've seen one. It's huge. By huge, I mean huge, very deep, and it's a 2-man lift. Okay, it's a very big radio with gazillions of bells, whistles, etc., etc. Okay, let's move down here in the realm of the reasonable. For just under $6,000, we have the 7700, which is HF and 6 meters. Now, if we come down here to the IC7610, this is an SDR a true SDR that is the rich cousin of the 7300. The 7300 is somewhat a simplified radio, although it's incredibly capable, and they're trying to get it at almost an entry-level price point here. This is redefining the radio, or the radio marketplace, in terms of what is available. Okay, so we have the 7610. These radios here are aimed at contesters and DXers and people who are really serious about weak signal work, pulling stations out of the mud and so on. Now, the thing is, though, that any of the radios on this page are good radios. There's not a bad radio on the market. An exception might be the Alenkos for CW. QST, when it reviewed them, ran into some problems. They may have those fixed by now. But for single sideband, these are designed to be super simple radios. Super simple. I've got a friend who's got one of these and seems to enjoy it. This, if these radios were a camera, these would be a point and shoot. Okay, this up here would be a Hasselblad. You know, they can both take pictures. That's fine. Now, let's look at the IC7100. The IC7100 is HF plus VHF UHF, and there's a separate control head. You can take the control head apart from the radio and put the control head somewhere where you have room. It's designed really for mobile use. It can also be used in a home QTH where you don't have very much room to put the radio. It only takes a little space by about yay, and it's got the microphone attached and everything, and then you can hide the guts of the radio, which is not very big, under the table or something like that, put it where it's convenient. This might be useful if your spouse is okay with you playing with radio but doesn't want to see it. That's not too bad. It's quite presentable. Okay. Now, the IC718 is an older design. It's been around for quite a while, and it is $624. Now, you would think $624 is not very much money. It isn't, and it's a fine radio. This was originally designed as their beginner radio, a beginner for HF. This radio works well as a beginner radio. However, ICOM is positioning its $1,100 IC7300 as a entry level radio. I would somewhat disagree with that. I think it's a second step, and something down here is more like a first step. The 7300 is an extremely capable radio, but like all radios, if you set the knobs up in the nominal position, you can turn any of these radios into point and shoot, where you just tune, pick up the microphone, and talk. Okay, just like the camera that I'm using right now is a Panasonic Lumix DMC G7, and it's a very nice camera. It does lots and lots of very good things, but you can set it up so that it's point and shoot, and you can still get very, very good pictures with that. Okay, so that's the ICOM lineup, from the Prestige radios to the Sirius DX contesting radios to their entry into what they think is the entry-level category down here. It's a sophisticated radio, but they have deliberately done some things to it that keep it from being a mid-level radio. For example, it has only one antenna output, no separate receive antenna input, and so on. It's designed really for kind of an entry-level person, but boy, does it have a lot of capability, as you'll see in the next couple videos. Now, in the Kenwood lineup, the TS990S is a very nice high-end radio. This is their version of a prestige radio. The 890S, the 3860 is a fairly new radio. Oh, you know, in the ICOM I should mention over here, this radio, the IC7610, is a software-defined radio. It's built on the same architecture as the 7300. Now, there is nothing inherently better about an SDR architecture than a very, very good super heterodyne architecture. They both can pull out signals and out of noise and so on. But the software-defined approach is proving to be less expensive, can be done entirely in software and so on. There's hardware that goes up in the front of it in order to be able to keep up with the rates, doing analog to digital conversion and so on. Both the 7610 and the 7300 do conversion to digital right at RF. They bring the signal in, amplify it a bit, it goes through a filter or two, and then right into a field programmable gate array that's been set up to do the analog to digital conversion. There used to be a TS2000 in here, recently discontinued. You can still get them, and they're fine radios. And it's a good entry-level radio in the same sense that is. The 590SG is a nice radio. The TS480s are really designed more for mobile work, okay? They're good radios. All these radios are good radios. There's no radio on here that won't work well. Okay, prestige radio again. Here is Yaesu with its FTDX 9000 MP for $9,000. Okay, and then down here to a more reasonable radio, the FTDX 5000 MP at $3,540. Now, Yaesu's entire lineup is classic super heterodyne. Very fine, outstanding super heterodyne. This is my radio right here, the FTDX 3000. Okay, this is not an entry-level radio. It's a second radio, but one that they're pushing as an entry-level radio is the FTDX 991A. Now, this radio right here is HF plus 6 meters plus 2 meters plus 70 centimeters plus the first 1.2 gigahertz band. Okay, so it covers a lot of stuff. I think the 1.2 is an add-on extra. The FTDX 1200 was the companion of the 3000 for $980, and what you can see here is some crowding at this point in the marketplace. They've got a variety of radios, really designed for different purposes. These radios, the 857, the 891, and the 818, are mobile radios, and there's one in there that is a QRP radio. The 818 is a QRP radio. It's a tiny thing. It's designed so that you can put batteries in it, put it over your shoulder, do pedestrian mobile, whatever you might like to do. It's only a 6-watt radio, whereas these others are 100 watts. Now, I want to mention this one right here, the FT450. I couldn't slip it right in there. The dot would have been about right there. It's $710. This is their entry-level base station radio. The FT450 is comparable in the market to the IC718, okay? Now, the FT450, which does not seem to bear any resemblance to its siblings, sort of the red-haired stepchild, I've talked with a lot of people who have these, and they like them. So if you're going for what is essentially a point-and-shoot radio, the 450 would be a good one. It's got nice digital filters and things like that, and it's a nice radio. Okay, and then you've got these two, 850-70 and the 891, that are both 100-watt radios, okay? So now I should also point out that the 7100 is ICOM's entry into the HF plus 2 meters plus 70 centimeters. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of an idea of where we are radio-wise. I'm going to talk a little bit about Elecraft. Elecraft is American-made for people who are not price sensitive. Yes, the 1% is among us. These are very expensive radios, and they have superb engineering. They have done amazing things with the super heterodyne architecture and have come up with a radio specifically that's extremely quiet, that has almost zero phase noise. You can operate, you get two Elecrafts, both on 20 meters, about 100 kilohertz apart, and they won't hear each other. That's how good these radios are. They're not fancy. They don't have a lot of the bells and whistles that some of these other radios have. But when people go on de-expeditions, they often gravitate immediately to Elecraft radios. I assume that has something to do with sponsorship too. They're pricey, and they have a million options. You can have just one receiver, or you can add a second receiver inside the chassis. You can do all different kinds of things. In addition to this, they have pan adapters, which are like waterfalls. It's an earlier name for a waterfall. And spectrum scope also. They also make a 500 watt amplifier and a 1500 watt amplifier for these radios. And of course, they're priced, as you might imagine. It's very expensive stuff. Somebody who has Elecraft will swear by it. They think they're fantastic radios, and they are. But all these others are good radios too. So you can kind of see where the IC7300 is positioned, this revolutionary new radio. Now what they're doing with this, because of all the bells and whistles that are added into it, they're putting downward price pressure on these other radios to the point where you can start matching them feature for feature at about the same price point. Similarly, these older radios, when sold, used to carry a fairly hefty price tag, but a lot of people are saying, why should I buy a used 7700 when I can get many of the same features for less than 1100? Okay, so this gives you just a little bit of an idea of how the HF radio marketplace is spread out. Okay, I'll put this on my website. If you go to dcasler.com, you'll find this in a post that I'll put up later today, so you can look for the post by date. And now, I'm sure people have got questions about the positioning of these radios. You've got your Prestige, you've got your very, very good in the middle. By very, very good, I mean these are truly outstanding radios. And then you've got another series of truly outstanding radios. And the budget-minded will pick up down here at the bottom end. They've got good budget radios. If you can afford more, the 7100 is there to occupy the niche for mobile radio, which the 857D and the 891 are also, as well as the TS480. By the way, the HX there means high power. You get more power out, I think 200 watts. Okay, so next video, 7100. We're going to take it out of the case that my friend has put it in, and we're going to look at the radio and see all the things it can do, and then another video or two about the architecture or some special features. So that's it. I just wanted to give you this right here. In channel news, please be sure to check out these websites that are up here. These are different ways that you can support Ham Radio Answers, or Ask Dave. They seem to be stuck with both names. They mean the same thing. And the next video will be the 200th video in the Ask Dave series. It's a bit of a milestone, too. I also just passed 51,000 subscribers, and I am grateful to all of you and my over 100 Patreon members who are patrons of this channel. And we've got some really cool stuff on Amazon. It's stuff you pay the normal price you'd pay on Amazon, but it's a way of also supporting Ham Radio Answers. So until we next meet, with a 7300 in hand, 73.